What up, guys? Today we got a different topic than what I usually do on this channel. Today I wanted to talk about easy mode and if, or should it be in every single game, or should every game have an easy mode? Since that's a question that a lot of people have been asking now because of just games mainly doing their own thing and being difficult by design. Sorry if I ramble a lot. I'm not really used to doing this, and I don't really have a script. So I'm just gonna like peel this one out and see how it goes, and if it works out, I'll keep making more. So anyways, easy mode. Kind of a weird topic to get into because it really branches off into different topics like gatekeeping and all that other shit. But in my humble opinion, easy mode really doesn't need to be in every single game. And I know a lot of people get pissed at that, since they feel like difficulty is a bit of a gatekeeper for the people who don't really want to try at the game, and they just sort of want to enjoy the game just without really putting in the effort and like going through the same trials and tribulations that most other people or everybody else who is fine with the difficulty would go through. And for me, when it comes to video game difficulty, I believe, because when people want to talk about something like this, it really comes from like Dark Souls and shit like that. And the first thing you have to like really sit down, like the first thing in my opinion that you have to like grapple with when it comes to a topic like this is it really that hard? And in Dark Souls' case, I would say it's not. Like, I would say there's perceived difficulty, and then there's like how difficult the game actually is. The problem with the fact that people want easy difficulty in every single game would be that fact that, well, I mean, a lot of people just, to them, it's the time investment that they don't want to put in, or it's the effort that they don't want to put into whatever game it is. And that, to the people who do want to sit down and play the game and do want to like put in the effort to learn whatever the game has to do and do whatever they want, it just seems like they just want to have their cake and eat it too. And it's understandable. That's probably why like people who like hear the every game should have an easy mode, that's why they get so defensive about it. That's why they call people out about it, because it just seems like they're just lazier, and they are fine, and they want the game developers to conform to their specific needs. And they know like they talk about accessibility and all that shit, but like really, if they wanted it to be accessible, or the term accessible, it already is. Like, anyone can go and buy like most games, and you can play them if you've got 5 fingers and you've got like good hearing and good sight. Then I mean, the game's accessible enough. For the people who don't have that kind of shit, and they say for like fixing the game for disabled gamers, well, I mean, that's a completely different topic in general, because there are so many different like disabilities that you could have, whether it be a learning one, or like whether you like can't see or can't hear. And if to change a game that's designed for most people that can see and hear very well and have 5 fingers, the game just wouldn't be the same. Most games have visual and auditory cues to help like gamers play the game, and that it's a part of the mechanics. But obviously, it's impossible for someone without sight or hearing to like catch up on those. So the game would be, well, being completely fucking different. And I guess when people like argue about accessibility when they argue for a game to have accessibility, they don't really want it. It just seems like they don't really want it to be accessible for like people who are disabled. They just want it to be accessible for them so that they can play the game. And as I said before, it's having your cake and eat it too, because they think the game is too hard, and so they don't want to play it, and then they complain about it, and then when people hear them complain about it, they're like, well, either just get good or just find another game to play. And, they're not really trying to hear that. They want to play the game. And the thing is, if you want to play the game, then you kind of just have to sit down and play it. It's not nearly as difficult as or it's not nearly as difficult a subject to talk about as you would perceive. If you find a game that overall you just not vibing with, and you play it and you just don't enjoy yourself, then you would stop playing the game. But most people, they see the game and they think it's interesting on that level, and they want to get more into it, but they can't because they feel filtered by the difficulty. And I mean, to be fair, that's kind of what it's for. And they say and a lot of people say, should every game be catered to everybody? And the answer to that question is a swift no. Simply because that's impossible. How do you make a game that's accessible and that caters to every single person on the planet? You fucking can't. It just seems like next level entitlement from the consumer. The developers will make the game however they want to make the game. Making the game that they want is impossible, since they want to make a game for a specific niche, and it's absolutely fine in my opinion. It's weird because when you have to explain this to someone, it's more like I would have to let you down easy on this one. But if you were to play a game and you don't find it good, then just don't play it. The reason why things like gatekeeping and filtering out for communities in different games exist in the first place is because, ironically, people just don't want you to play a game that you don't enjoy. If you find a game and you look at it from you're just looking at it from a window view, like an outsider looking in, and you want to play it, and then you find it to be not fun, and you just wish that, and you wanted the game to change, then odds are you don't really like the game for what it is. And if you don't like the game for what it is, then people will obviously be able to tell, and they'll be saying, or they'll tell you, just play a different game. I guess it comes down to the fact that nobody really wants to see, or nobody wants gatekeeping to be it's not like this evil bad thing that everybody thinks it is. It's just people just stopping you from just embarrassing yourself or not wanting to play the game, which is absolutely fine in my opinion, because the community for a game is for like-minded people who enjoy the game for how it is. And there's, as I said before, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's some people that think it is, and they think they find the term gatekeeping a bit threatening. And I guess it sounds that way if it's threatening to you. But if you want to sit down and play a game, then as I said before, nothing is stopping you. Everybody can go and buy the same games, and you can have fun with it. But the thing is, you have to, if you really want to get into it, and the game at first seems a bit hard, but you really want to get through it, then you're gonna get through it. You want to play the game. I've talked with friends about this before, and it really comes down to the fact that if you want to just sit down and play a game that even you think is a bit difficult, but you really, really know that you want to keep playing this game, and you have fun with this game, then you are going to persevere through it, despite all odds. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Dark Souls or any game, or any genre. People who just don't want to play the game, or it just seems like complaining, and they want the games, they want every game to pander to how they play, and obviously you can't have that. It's not possible. I don't have a problem with easy mode being in the game. It's just the fact that developers can design a game however they want it to be designed. If they want it to be difficult and they want the bar to be there, this is how to play the game, then they're gonna make it how they want to. And even then, they talk about games being too hard and games being filtered or filtering out people or casuals, even though the video games are popular despite not having a lot of difficulty options back when the games first came out. On the old school Nintendo, there was no difficulty setting for any game back then. Only a couple games had it, and even then most people would just Most people would think that the games were difficult anyway. So like back then, when you had to sit down and play the game and there was no option, like there straight up wasn't, either people, guess what? Either they didn't play the game or they persevered through it and they saw it through. Like, I don't know, it just seems like as games get like this, games like just have to pander to people who just aren't interested in the games. And when the developers of a game pander to people who don't really like the game for how it is and they want the game to be molded into their image, the game or the franchise or whatever suffers for it. And the people who like the game for how it is and they enjoy the difficulty or whatever it is about the game that makes the game special to them, it just seems like they're killing something that they enjoy. And in my mind, I mean, it's kind of equally as, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's overall just bad for the game and bad for a community. That's the reason why people just are so like fierce about this gatekeeping shit, is because they don't want the thing that they like to be changed. Or they don't want it to be changed in a way that doesn't seem very good for the game itself. And most of the time, since people who talk about this and ask for accessibility and all that, they ask for like changes like that, most of the time they have lesser knowledge of a game and they might not understand things as well as someone who would sit down and play the game and really understand it and get to know it because they like it so much. And that's where the disconnect happens. That's where the hostility comes from, because you're talking about this thing that you don't know as much about, and I know more about it. And why would you want this change when it's fine how it is? If you don't like it, then you don't like it, but that doesn't mean that you have to have the whole thing changed just for you. But the people who played the game and have like very strong opinions about it are sort of they're in the minority when it comes to an argument like this, because it takes effort to get into a game and play it and understand it fully. And that's just kind of how it is nowadays. It kind of sucks that that's the way we're probably going to go, because at the end of the day, if games were more accessible for like broader audiences, they make more money, and companies need money because they need to eat. So it would be easier to just do that. It would be way easier to just do that than to just make a game that's fit for a specific niche or for a specific community. And I understand people need to eat, but when you make a big change to a game, when you make a big change to a already established game that had a fine formula before, and people are fans of that formula, then people are gonna be pissed. They could be like, why have they changed the game to be like this? It happens all the time. It happened with Street Fighter, or it happened with a lot of fighting games. It happened with shooters. It happens with a lot of games now. It's very topical because you don't want to come off as a dick about it, but at the same time, it's like if you have a strong opinion about something, then there's really only one way that you can voice your opinions. But I do think that the people should just, as I said before, not every game can suit every person. It's impossible. And that's fine. But that's okay. It's fine for games to do what they want to do, and if you're not into the game, then maybe you should think about it, if maybe this is a me issue, or maybe this game isn't for me, other than this is an issue with the game and it needs to be changed.